सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जल जीरा मसाला।
सिप सिप जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप।
From the Republic Media Network headquarters, it's time for Arnab Goswami on The Debate. Arnab Goswami on The Debate.
Ladies and gentlemen, the art of the deal. The daddy of deals is done, and the impact of that. That's debate one tonight. And debate number two. Where does Rahul Gandhi go to hide now? The naysayers of the Indian economy, Rahul Gandhi and the man who knows nothing about economics, Raghuram Rajan. How they have left stunned. They are left stunned after this. That's the political debate at 9 o'clock tonight. In 1987, when Donald Trump was 41, 42 years old, he wrote a book called The Art of the Deal, proclaiming himself to be the God of deals. Really, I don't think he knows how to do deals, because today, if anyone knows how to do a deal, anyone, it is the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi. And why am I saying that? Because on July 21st, when Donald Trump pulled out that sheet saying, I'm going to fine different countries, at that point of time, he said, I'm putting 26% tariff on India. And then they went and abused India, attacked India, swore at India, called the Ukraine war, pulled it out. He said 26%. And then he said this Ukraine war is Modi's war. Then he said that India is Russia's laundromat. Then he said India is the tariff king. After all of that name calling, Modi's war, Russia's laundromat, tariff king, you expect him to get something. What did he get? After 8 months of threats and name calling, the deal is done. And instead of going 8% up from 26 to 34, it goes 8% down from 26 to 18. The question is, what did Trump get? He took it up from 26 to 50%. Now he's brought it down to 18%. What did he get? I know that deals are not a chess match. There is no pure, clear winner or loser. It's give a little and take a little. But what did the man who in 1987 wrote a book called The Art of the Deal, what deal did he get? In fact, let me do the mathematics. In 8 months, it came down, the tariffs on India, by 8%, which means every month, he brought down his own tariffs by 1% to a notch. Every month, we beat Trump down by 1%. This is a reality. I'm not here to, to say we won, you lost. I'm not doing that, but I'm just stating the facts tonight. I'm just stating the facts, and I hope Americans are watching this. Where does this place India? I think in a great position, because the world is competitive. Let me take the BRICS nations, for example. China is today at 34%, and we're at 18%. Brazil is at 50%, we're at 18%. South Africa is at 30%, we're at 18%. We have today an 16% margin in tariffs on China. We have a 32% margin on Brazil. And we have a 12% margin on South Africa. Russia, of course, is sanctioned. I'm only mentioning some BRICS nations. So while being leaders of the global south, while holding our own, while not giving in, while not letting the Americans bully us, we have got a deal that's literally as good as it can get in the present situation. Ladies and gentlemen, therefore, when Donald Trump says he has a lot of respect for Prime Minister Modi, I think he means it. The world order is changing in India's favor. Remember the graph that Elon Musk put when he said, don't forget the world order is changing. The number one contributor to GDP growth in the world is China. The number two is India. Number three, by far, and a poor number three is the USA. That's going to be the global economic order in 2047. Viksit Bharat. We are almost getting there. Let's debate.
Months of negotiations, tariff tension building up. From pressure to praise, Donald Trump has come a long way.
India charges us massive tariffs, massive. You can't even sell anything into India. It's almost restrictive. It is restrictive. You know, we do very little business inside. They've agreed, by the way, they want to cut their tariffs way down now because somebody's finally exposing them for what they've done. And as you know, Prime Minister Modi's a friend of mine, but they don't do very much business in terms of business with us. They sell a lot to us, but we don't buy from them. You know why? Because the tariff is so high. They have one of the highest tariffs in the world. We get along with India very well, but India has, you have to understand, for many years it was a one-sided relationship. Only now since I came along, and because of the power that we have with tariffs, India was charging us tremendous tariffs, about the highest in the world. They were about the highest in the world, number one. And we therefore weren't doing much business with India, but they were doing business with us because we weren't charging them. Foolishly, we weren't charging them. So they would send in massive, everything they made, they'd send it in, pour it into our country. Modi's a very good man.
Yes.
He's a good guy. He knew I was not happy, and it was important to make me happy. They do trade. And we can raise tariffs on them very quickly.
Trump, who once called India a tariff king, has now cut down tariff, giving India the best deal. Trump claimed India will stop buying Russian oil. Prime Minister Modi, while acknowledging the deal on behalf of 1.4 billion Indians, didn't say a word on any crude imports from Russia. Kremlin says it has not heard from India about halting Russian energy purchases. There is no fine print of the deal yet. But the global media, especially American and Western media, are giving it their own spin. While some call it a deal to end the Ukraine war, others calling it an end to the trade war while terms of peace are murky. And some conclude that India won't buy Russian oil anymore. All of them mostly wrong.
Coming as it does immediately after India signed the mother of all deals with the European Union, the India-United States Trade Pact sends across a strong geopolitical message that you can stare down a bully and get that bully on the negotiation table. Not only that, you can in fact get the best of terms if only you have the patience. Now, with this deal, India has better terms than what Vietnam, Indonesia, Bangladesh, Pakistan could get, and in fact, best one amongst the BRICS nations. And that shows that this could prove to be the daddy of deals as the world reverberates with India's success in negotiating a good deal with the Trump administration.
They say devil is in the details. The world now awaits what the US-India deal actually holds.
I have with me first this evening Ambassador John Bolton. He has been former National Security Advisor to President Trump in his first term. Now, of course, he's Trump's target. There have been raids on him. Trump doesn't like him anymore. Trump speaks badly of him. But then Trump speaks badly of a lot of people, doesn't he, Ambassador? My question to you is this. You must be watching this closely. the big news, India-USA trade deal, historic deal, I began by saying that I don't think Trump went away with a lot. What do you make of what he said?
I don't think tariffs are good for anybody as a matter of normal economic interchange. It was a mistake for Trump to launch the so-called Liberation Day tariffs. These are hidden taxes on American consumers. We do have problems in the trade world, mostly with China stealing intellectual property and the like. But it's mutually beneficial for the citizens of both countries not to have tariffs in the way. So anything that reduces tariffs by and large is a positive for all the countries involved. And I know that India has been celebrating going from 50% to 18%. I'll celebrate even more when we go to 0%.
What did you mean by 0%? Like?
Well, in other words, I don't see why there's any upside to having tariffs on Indian goods coming into the U.S. or U.S. goods going into India. In our states, and I think in your states too, there's not a tariff internally between North Carolina and South Carolina. For us, it would be crazy to do it. And I think people overall benefit from free trade.
100% they do. My question was that when we saw Trump's statement yesterday, a lot of things are generic. He says that we will have zero tariff barriers for our goods into America, but I don't see anything on the dotted line on that. He also says that India has promised to buy American, but that seems very generic. It does not seem anything specific there. He says India has promised to buy American. That's a generic promise, isn't it, Mr. Bolton? It's not on the dotted line. It's only a statement of intent.
Well, remember, what Trump says is what he wants the world to hear, and the details come later, and obviously the details here are significant. So I'm not buying that we understand fully what the deal is yet, but if anything comes that reduces the tariffs, that'll be good. If the reporting in the United States is that India agreed to buy more oil from the United States, I think that's great, of course. But also to buy more oil from Venezuela and in lieu of buying Russian oil. And all I can say on that part is good luck, because Venezuela's oil production is very, very low, and the odds of that production increasing materially, certainly in a way that could satisfy demand at the level India has, is years down the road.
So if the specifics are not clear, why does a person who wrote the book, The Art of the Deal, end up committing 18% from 50% for India without getting anything substantially significant in writing in return?
Well, he may or may not have gotten something in return. I mean, I'm certainly not arguing that he did. He frequently announces deals that don't exist. But I think his whole concept of tariffs is wrong. I think his idea that if a country has a trade surplus with another country, that's good, and a trade deficit with a different country, that's bad, is just wrong. He doesn't understand that the surplus and deficits are caused by millions of individual economic transactions. And so the idea that somehow we're better off with higher tariffs to begin with is wrong, and that we're making a concession by lowering the tariffs is wrong as well. People who ought to be happiest about the tariff rate coming down from 50% to 18% should be American consumers, because they and importers generally are the ones who pay the tariffs. The study done by the Kiel Institute of Germany on the effect of the Liberation Day tariffs for the past year is that the exporters pay about 4% of the tariffs, and importers and American consumers pay 96% of the tariffs. So reducing the American tariffs is a big tax cut for the American people, which I applaud.
Could it also be that India temporarily agrees to slow down purchasing Russian oil? By the way, I do not think, Ambassador, there's any possibility that India will reduce the purchase of Russian oil to zero. Again, that's a no commitment zone. That's a statement by Donald Trump on Truth Social, but there is no firm commitment that we will stop. But, just to get a deal done, because the war can't go on indefinitely, India could say, okay, we'll slow it down for a while, and we'll open the tap again after the war ends. So it's not really a change of position, making me wonder why Trump is seeking a headline here. Is it the pressure of the India-EU trade deal that was beginning to bear on him?
No, I don't think so. But I mean, I think Indian consumers and producers, manufacturers are better off with this as well. That and in fact would be even better off if they lowered Indian tariffs. I think the incentive for India not to purchase Russian oil, even at the very low rates that are being paid, well below the global market price, is that Russia is increasingly becoming a subservient state to China in the China-Russia axis that's been forming. This is not like the Sino-Soviet alliance of the Cold War. This time China's in charge. And the close relationships that countries have with Russia for oil or weapons or other products like that leave them in a vulnerable position. I think this applies to India as well, and vulnerable particularly vis-a-vis China. So dispersing the oil production or the oil purchases from Russia to other suppliers of oil makes sense for India on its own geopolitical terms.
You've been National Security Advisor with Trump in his first term. You know him well. You worked closely, very, very closely with him at the highest level. Now, he's been humming and hawing and being very, very aggressive vis-a-vis India, very pro-Pakistan. Is this a consistent position in your view? Does he have any long-term views on building a relationship with India, or is it purely only transactional and whatever works for today rather than a long-term partnership?
No, it's all about Donald Trump today. It is all transactional. And this is very hard for people to understand, very hard for me to understand until I started working for him. He doesn't have a philosophy. He doesn't have a national security grand strategy. He doesn't even really do policy the way we understand those terms. And when he does deals internationally, he frequently doesn't know the assets that he's dealing with. He doesn't know what he's getting for the deals that he's making. So it's very dangerous for the United States and allows our adversaries to take advantage of us. I think it is the case he and Prime Minister Modi have a good personal relationship. I wish we could build more on that in dealing with the threat that China poses all along its Indo-Pacific periphery, because that's where the real issue is. Trade disputes between friends are often very, very difficult, but they involve economic stakes and you have to work them out. But to allow trade differences to obscure geostrategic common interest, I think, is a real problem. So one benefit, I hope, coming from this tariff reduction is we can now start talking more about how to cooperate against the common threat we face from China.
Ambassador John Bolton, I thank you very much for giving us your perspective of what happens with this trade deal and beyond, and its possible impact on India-America relations. Thank you very much, Ambassador Bolton. I am now joined...
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I'd like to move to our panel, and I have with us Einar Tangen, Senior Fellow at the Tahi Institute in Beijing. We have Joachim Bitterlich. He's former German ambassador to NATO, former National Security Advisor to Helmut Kohl. Nikita is joining us from Moscow today. Pastor Mark Burns, who's a spiritual advisor to President Trump. We only have to have someone who's a spiritual advisor to understand Trump's mind. Richie Greenberg, political commentator from San Francisco, and Troy Blackwell. He's a former advisor to President Biden. He's a Democrat. Thank you very much. My initial thoughts tonight, I just want to open up the thoughts out there. How do you think this places the relationship? I want to start with Einar. Einar, I said earlier that India now has a huge advantage over China. China issue remains unresolved. How does this impact the overall equation, geopolitics, internationally?
All right, just to make it clear, China does not have specific tariffs on India. In this particular case, you can argue that it was a success, bringing it from 50 to 18. I would agree, though, that I don't know why it's an issue at all. I don't think the tariffs should be out there, and I do not think that India should be paying any of the U.S. It's an asymmetric relationship. You look at the wealth of the United States on a per-person basis. It's almost $100,000 per person. It buys things from other people. If you put a tariff on, you're simply adding costs to the American consumers. What really concerns me about this as a lawyer is that if you're supposed to have an agreement, there's supposed to be mutuality, that you agree on the terms. And obviously that is not the case. The only thing that seems consistent is that the tariffs are meant to go from 50 down to 18. The U.S. says based on $500 billion worth of buys from India to the U.S., or 500 million, based on not buying Russian oil, and also by opening up its markets. None of these things are going to work for India, so it's very hard to see how this is really an agreement.
Are you disappointed?
Yeah, I am. I think for world trade, it would be much better to give India as an ally of the United States. I'm speaking on behalf of China. I'm just saying, as an ally of the United States, supposedly as somebody the U.S. counts on, if this is the way you treat your friends, it doesn't seem very nice.
Or are you disappointed because the possibility of India drifting away further from America dies with this deal?
No, I don't. I don't know that this is going to be particularly well received. I mean, India is a future power. It will remember all of these things, not just this deal, but everything that led up to it. The words cannot be unspoken. And what happened in Nepal and Bangladesh and happening in Pakistan is not going to be forgotten. These kind of slights. I mean, Donald Trump personally tried to make, Prime Minister Modi look weak, as if he was begging for things. It's just not true. So, these types of slights, unfortunately, they cannot be pushed away easily.
Okay. The argument being made by Einar Tangen right at the start, and I want Joachim Bitterlich to come in on this, is that while things may be settled for now between the United States and India, but there has been a frosty relationship with a lot of words exchanged, more words spoken by Americans and no response from Indians. So the relationship is still fragile. It's not going to be a warm and good equation. What is your sense, Mr. Bitterlich?
First, I think congratulations to Prime Minister Modi. He has applied the same strategy as the Chinese do: patience with the Americans, wait for your moment. And at the same time, he was able to use a bit the pressure coming from the EU-India deal. And for me, but I say congrats, yes, but I don't see yet the fine prints, because when I look at the headlines of this deal in Europe, the first headline is India is renouncing to its oil imports from Russia.
Yes.
And this is for the Europeans, the first head. The second one is this other story no one is mentioning. Trump has been speaking yesterday about, let's say, this promise of Indian investments, about 500 billion in the US in the fields of energy, tech and agriculture.
Yeah.
Is really something serious, or is this, let's say, a vague intention? What's behind? Therefore, I would like a bit to wait, let's say, for the fine print of this agreement. Otherwise, for the rest, I agree entirely what John Bolton has said about these tariff deals.
Pastor Mark Burns and Richie, has Trump lost the art of deal making? Somewhere I feel it must be considered very, very closely, because you see, in India and China, old civilizations, the art of strategy You know, Arthashastra, written by Kautilya, Chanakya, is one of the greatest works in strategy. And the art of war by the Chinese is not about the art of war alone, it's the art of strategy. Ancient civilizations are patient and strategic. Has Trump misstepped? Because you only went down. You promised 26, went to 50, came down to 18. What? I'm not going to rub it in, Pastor. I'm not going to rub it in. I'm not going to rub it in. But someone's going to ask. If not me, then Einar, then Joachim Bitter, the experience. They will ask you, what was all of this for? What have you got? And why do you need to do this anymore? You know, this was the biggest of them all, by the way. India, apart from US-China, the second largest deal. The biggest deal will be in US-China, I agree. But the second biggest deal will be US-India. And in the US-India deal, I don't really understand what Trump got. Can you explain what he got?
I'll try my best. First of all, remember the whole purpose of President Trump's tariff wars served two purposes. And again, the president has not lost the art of the deal. We're getting exactly what we wanted, which was reciprocal tariffs. You got to remember, at the end of the day, India was charging America massively high tariffs. The president made it very clear. We love India. I've been to India many times. I have many friends in India. The president is very close to Prime Minister Modi. We have a lot of respect for the Indian people and the Indian culture. But the reality is America markets in India were almost non-existent, partly because of the one-sided tariffs that India was charging America. And the president said no, we're no longer are going to be the world's bank. If we're going to do business together, it's going to be done on an equal term. Right now, India, through this latest trade deal, has agreed to lower their tariffs. Not only that, India has agreed, according to the latest reports, that Prime Minister Modi has agreed to stop buying Russian oil. And I like, even though I disagree with some of the things that Ambassador John Bolton is saying, he is also speaking that the more you buy Russian oil, the more you help China. And China are not friends to India. And so they're right there in your back door. So you're funding even those that desire to.
No, but the thing is that, see, Pastor, may I?
Last point is this. Last point, I'm going to be quiet. The last point is this. You asked, what do we get? Not only that, India has agreed to buy $500 billion worth of defense equipment, petroleum from America. That's money coming from India to the economy of America. And so we're getting India to the table. We're getting more coming back to America and reciprocal tariffs so that we can do business in India, India can continue to do business in America, and we continue to move forward as great allies. But the time of one-sided tariffs, those days are over under Trump.
No, I still haven't got an answer to my question. Because U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer has said, I'm told, to CNBC International, that India is maintaining its protections around agriculture. So you see, we are not telling you, please bring all your corn flour, all your soya bean, all your almonds, all your apples, and dump it in India. We're not going to let you do that. We've been patient. And I don't know what you got. See, if you're not able to answer a simple question, this is what we got in writing. You see, now you're going to look left and right, Richie, but you're going to ask, someone's going to ask you. Someone's going to ask, if not me, someone else will ask you tomorrow, Richie. Good fireworks, but what did Trump actually get?
Well, you brought this up before. You said that, the details, the devil's in the details, right? And I'm actually having a very positive look here. And you've had a couple of guests here, and you had Jeffrey Sachs on yesterday, I believe. Yeah. And I hear just nothing but criticism and nothing but negative. And I'm myself and others on this panel and around America are getting a little tired of hearing all this negativity. You know, a lot of this is just confidence building, right? We're looking towards the future, the very near future. You yourself and others have said, we're waiting for the details. There's no details. Okay, so please be patient. We've been waiting for months. You know, Trump has been in office for a little over a year, and it's been a strained relationship. We know that, strained relationship. And the commitments from India to buy $500 billion worth of energy, coal, technology, and agricultural goods, and had that barrier, the trade barrier, either tariff or no tariff barriers. We just look forward, I look forward to seeing what is going to come out of this. I don't expect something immediately right now. But if I can please, just 1 minute, you know, yesterday when the trade deal was announced, you had Prime Minister, you had Modi. He said, he actually put on Twitter, I still call it Twitter, I know it's X, he said, it was wonderful to speak with my dear friend, President Trump, today.
Yeah.
Reducing the tariff to 18%. Big thanks to President Trump on behalf of the 1.4 billion people of India.
Yep.
When two large economies and the world's largest democracies work together, it benefits our people, unlocks immense opportunities, mutually beneficial cooperation. President Trump's leadership is vital for global peace, stability, and prosperity. India fully supports his efforts for peace. Now, if there was such contention, if there's problems between the different leaders of the world, between the leaders of democracies, that did not seem to come across on his statement from Modi. And so I'm very encouraged by what's happening.
No, that's very good. It's very graceful of Modi. As you saw in Narendra Modi's tweet, there was no hyperbole. There were no exclamation marks. He's thanked, he said 18%, and it's true. But at no point of time is there any firm commitment on not buying Russian oil. Am I right, Deepak Vora? Deepak Vora, by the way, is a fantastic, astoundingly great Indian former ambassador. Is there a commitment, Deepak Vora, anywhere on not buying a drop of Russian oil? The only thing we've done is we've not countered Trump. We're not getting into a verbal war with him, which is counterproductive. But we've not given any such commitment, have we?
Well, thank you very much, sir. Thank you for your kind words. You are, of course, the greatest anchor that I've seen in my lifetime. I'm 74 years young. But so thank you very much for getting me with all these brilliant people. No, we haven't. That's not our style. We practice what is called duck diplomacy. Everything is calm and placid on the surface. Beneath the surface, we are paddling furiously. So you know that there were harsh words used against our government by certain members of the Trump administration. We didn't respond. We are the children of Chanakya, sir, the greatest strategist in the world. He says, if the door is closed, keep the window open. And if you start becoming abusive, the window will close too. We never do that. That's not our style. So I do believe, sir, as was announced when we agreed with we announced the completion of negotiations with the European Union. This lady, Ms. Vander, whatever her name is, she said that this is the mother of all deals. I believe, sir, that on this Tuesday, this terrific Tuesday, the day of Lord Hanuman, we have signed the father of all deals. And if you draw a hypothesis, a long line, at one end the United States, the other the European Union, India is right in the middle, the three of them accounting for about 50% of global GDP. We have made no commitments as far as Russia is concerned, nor are we going to make them. As far as agriculture is concerned, again, American agriculture products, particularly cotton was being talked about, is just so expensive. Good quality, not as good as ours, people here are not going to buy it. You can sell a car for $1 trillion, manufacture them, bring them to India, who's going to buy it, sir? So these are the things. It's a price-sensitive market. You've seen what's happened to the stock market today. It's skyrocketing. We're welcoming.
No, it's doing very well. It's doing very well. It's doing brilliantly well. I think something else is going on. I think somewhere, four leaders, Xi Jinping, Vladimir Putin, Narendra Modi and Donald Trump know, Nikita, know one thing which they may not be able to say. They know they will all have to work together. It is a multipolar world. There will be 4 or 5 future superpowers, and then there will be some middle to great powers, which will include smaller countries like the United Kingdom and others. But everybody will have to work together. So, Nikita, How is Russia viewing this claim by Donald Trump that Narendra Modi has agreed that India will not buy Russian oil? Do you believe that claim? Is Moscow believing that claim?
First of all, nice to meet you again, and I'd like to say, Mr. Trump isn't the man you should trust. The first reason is because he's weak inside the United States. He's going to lose next parliament elections and lose a lot of his power. In fact, after 3 or 2 years, we will see a new man in the White House, and he will say, I don't know what was said by Mr. Trump, I don't like this guy, I think he should be at the prison. So forget about all negotiations, about all deals made by Trump. We're beginning from the beginner. I think it's a first reason you shouldn't trust all these negotiations. The next thing, the reason why shouldn't you trust his position? When a man came to you and said, hey guy, you know, I did take a man from Caracas, I kidnapped him, and now I can sell you more of oil, more cheaper, great deal, you like me? Of course, I don't think he would say, I like you guy, because you should not deal with criminals. Because this time he was lucky. He kidnapped this man and he won. But the next time he will lose. He will have dead bodies of...
but my question was different, Nikita. How is the Kremlin, how is the Russian establishment looking at this? Because Vladimir Putin was in New Delhi. We have a complex and deep, especially defense relationship, which we cherish with Russia, right? 60% of our arms imports are from Russia, defense imports. But Trump is saying that we made a commitment. I don't believe this commitment. I do not believe the Indian government will say we will compromise Russia completely. But we don't know. We don't know the fine print. Unless this Russia part is in the deal as a condition, it doesn't amount to anything for us.
As I said before, Russia is seeing the situation. India trying to deal with American gangster. You're trying to have negotiations. You're trying to have some kind of new deal, which is going to be over in 2 or 3 years, because Mr. Trump will lose his place and his power. And new men say, I don't have any kind of obligations for you. Forget about it. We're going back to 40% tariffs. So, in fact, as I said before, Russia wants just to understand. So it is a bad idea to have any kind of negotiations and talk with a gangster.
Okay, you are repeatedly calling Donald Trump a gangster.
He will try.
You're repeatedly calling Donald Trump a gangster. But then why is your president, you are repeatedly calling Donald Trump a gangster, but why is your president going all the way to Alaska to meet a gangster?
As I said, we tried our best in that time, because it was long before Mr. Trump...
Because he's the President of the United States of America today and for the foreseeable future.
As I said, he is losing his power in this minute.
Okay.
You call Mr. Trump a leader of democracy, but people in Minneapolis would say, of course not. He's a dictator. He should be taken to the prison. Any new president will move Trump away, and all his deals, all his projects, all his people are going to be lost for India and for any other country. We should understand this big problem. I don't understand what is funny for you in the United States, because you know your current leader is going to be at the prison in 3 years later. Is it funny for you? Is it okay?
Your president is a dictator. He's been in office for 20 plus years. He's an actual dictator and kills off political enemies. You're calling Trump a dictator? Like, what country you live in, sir? But it's laughable.
As I said, it isn't me who called Mr. Trump a dictator. It is your American people in Minneapolis, in New York, in other cities. Because they say he took the power, he is building concentration camps for the foreigners, he's arresting people for no reason. They say he's a criminal. He should take the propaganda, sir. It is what American people say. It is not my business. It's your problem. You might have your Trump in White House.
Why do you kill children in Ukraine? Why do you bomb little children in Ukraine?
Please,
why have you kidnapped 20,000 plus children in Ukraine? We are not at the Harlem. Why are you still bombing Ukraine?
It is not a rap battle, guy. Don't interrupt.
Why are you still bombing? Why are you killing? Why are you having little children's heads?
It is not a rap battle, guy.
Why are you shooting apartment buildings? Why are you raping women in Ukraine?
Don't
Why are you
interrupt
attacking churches in Ukraine?
We're speaking about problems of your president.
Why 700 plus churches have been intentionally destroyed by the Russian army?
As I said, Mr. Trump.
May I get in Troy as well? I just want to come in for a moment. I want to come in from a moment, and I would like to, at the cost of giving you an Indian perspective before I come to Troy, explain the way we look at it here in India. I think the last 1 year has been very trying for us. We had a terrorist attack by Pakistan. We were forced to hit them back. Trump was very rude in claiming a lot of things which he shouldn't have claimed, followed by the instigation of a one-sided trade war with India. We were called names. We were called Russia's laundromat and all kinds of things. But in the process, I want to just underline here so that people watching the program across the world understand the new India. For a long time, we punched below our weight. We were looking within a confident India, realizing it will be the second largest economy in the world in 15 years, has successfully opened conversations with China. I now will endorse that. We have reopened trade, relationship, logistics, transportation, a conversation with China. We've had deals with Australia, New Zealand, the European Union. We have deepened our equation, as Nikita will understand, and agree with Russia. We had the Russian president visit India. We have deepened our relationship with Japan and with the African continent. And we are going to be leading the BRICS with Prime Minister leading it. So I think, I don't know, I mean, you may think I'm inward looking, but I would think that we played it out quite well. In India, we have a long way to go. But now I'd like to get a view from a Democrat. How are people viewing this deal and Trump's announcement in the US, and how do you view it, Mr. Blackwell?
Well, thanks for having me. I look at this from a prosecutorial lens. You kind of have to look at what is the impetus of all of this. So starting with what we know and what we don't know. What we do know is that although most of the Western world has sanctioned Russia due to the invasion of Ukraine, President Trump has not been the most friendliest ally to Ukraine. So we can cross that off the list.
Yes.
The second is that just in the last month, Trump has invaded Venezuela. So I do think that the impetus for this deal comes down to the oil that's in Venezuela. We look at the cost of what that would look like, which is about $61 a ton compared to the $16 that India currently gets from Russia. So I'm not sure how this is necessarily a deal for us. I don't think that Prime Minister Modi will pull out of this. And third, I think the pressure came from the agreement that just happened with the European Union.
Yes.
So that's the fact of what we do know. What we also don't know is, I do think that that's where the pressure came from. What we don't know is the unspecified details, which is, okay, Prime Minister Modi agreed to spend $500 billion with the U.S. There's no specifications in what that $500 billion will go to. I do think that the way that our president, President Trump, has treated the U.S.-India relationship, it's not productive. It's not how you treat a friend. Just in the last 6 months, though, I will say that Prime Minister Modi has played it well. Just in August, the tariffs were at 50%. Today, we have a deal on 18%. It's the lowest in the region. So if anything, the art of the deal is really on Prime Minister Modi's side. As for the Americans' perspective, as a Democrat, I'm not really sure how this plays out for us. I think the long game here for Trump is really about the oil reserves in Venezuela. But again, the oil reserves in Venezuela are dilapidated. It's going to take about at least a decade, 10 years before that is the infrastructure is really built there. And also, it's not even cost effective for the Indian government because right now you're getting oil at $16 a ton, whereas with Venezuela, you would be getting it $61 a ton. So I'm a little concerned about what the Americans are getting out of this deal. Something that we haven't talked about that might happen is that I know that Prime Minister Modi and the Indian government is looking at possibly a digital service tax. We're not clear if the U.S. is going to be included in that in the future. So that might be a possibility as a negotiation tool with President Trump right now. Maybe that's why he's lowering the tariffs. But I really think it comes down between those two items: the potential future digital service tax that Prime Minister Modi wants to put in place, whether the U.S. will be a part of that, and two, the situation that has happened over the last 3 weeks with Venezuela.
The way I look at it is the strategy I think India is adopting here is, realistically speaking, we will catch up with China in 10 to 15 years in terms of scale of economy, purchasing power parity, and trade. So the way I'm looking at it is, I think Deepak, is that do work with everyone in the world right now, be the unifier, expand and work with the African continent. Don't use this opportunity where Trump is bearing down on people to be kind and respectful to other countries, kind and respectful, appreciative with the European Union, Africa, Japan, even with China, and bring your own, expand your own trade, build your own strength. I think that's how I look at it. Deepak, what do you think? You're much more experienced because there's so much to learn in this. I'm comparing the speech of Trump in Davos to the details of the deal we are discussing. They're chalk and cheese.
Oh, absolutely, sir. You're absolutely right. It's a brilliant analysis. As far as India is concerned, I've been Indian for 74 years, as far back as I can remember. I don't know what I was before that. But may I just say that you rightly put it that we are the center, we are the mediator. We are signing with everybody. We're being friends with everybody.
It's good.
This is what, so 117
But isn't
years
that good? I mean, isn't that a refreshing thing in today's world?
Oh, absolutely.
The way Modi is dealing with the world, with respect. With respect,
Absolutely.
when he talks to Maloney, when he talks to the German Chancellor, you are talking to ancient civilizations, ancient countries. You have to deal with respect, even when he's speaking to the Chinese. Mutual respect, which is lacking in today's world.
No question about it. I just wanted to say that 117 years ago, Swami Vivekananda had said that India doesn't exist for herself, but to shed a light on the whole world, to unify the world. That's why we talk of the world.
I want a comment from Richie on that. Richie, what do you think, Richie?
Yes, I agree. I do agree that India and other countries as well are beacons for democracy, for hope, for development, for prosperity. And but still, I take offense to a lot of what's being said about America.
No, nothing about America.
Trump.
It's not about America.
I know that. We're talking about India. I understand that.
It's the world. It's the world situation. Richie,
and the world situation.
I'm not saying your president is all bad. Nobody's saying that. But I'm saying that one needs to talk down less. Is that too much to ask,
Well, it's not too much, but, I also question where information is coming to each of us. And in general, listening to the responses from each of the people on the panel today, it's like the news sources are varied wildly across this political spectrum. Okay. And I think that's a problem as well in terms of how people are reacting, not even just us on this panel, but just in general in the world, yes, where people are and how they get their news sources and the reaction that we're having. So that's why a lot of the people here, and especially I apologize to point out the person from Russia, it's so skewed, and that is very provocative. And we're very much trying to move forward in a positive light.
Okay, I understand. For 2 quick words from Joachim first. Joachim, what does this deal tell us, the circumstances that have led to it? Please tell us from not an Indian perspective.
For me, I see the new India. Where's India coming from? Last 20 years, from where is the Indian economy coming in? And India, we see the new India. We are discovering India, which is finding its real central place in a multipolar world. Congrats.
That's very important. I think political leadership is very critical for that. We are a very vibrant democracy, unlike China. And political leadership, decisive thinking, clarity, patience, these are virtues that we've seen strongly in Modi's time. Last word to Einar Tangen. Einar, in terms of China, Russia, India, particularly China, India, in the backdrop of this deal, how do you see India and China placed in terms of trade and in terms of our unresolved geopolitical issues?
Well, I go back to something you said, that there are a number of major leaders in a multipolar world, and they're supposed to get along. But if one of them wants to be a thug with the club and say that everything belongs to me, I think the other leaders have to come together and say, well, we'll work without them until they want to play nice. This idea that the United States is going forward positively, I think you can see with your own eyes what's happening across America, what happened in Venezuela, the threats against Greenland, this kind of overarching idea that the United States can go it alone and extract value from everybody else. No country can do that. You just pointed that out, and I am hopeful that India does. And I think China would welcome a very prosperous India, because it strengthens the independence of the world, and it spreads the wisdom of cultures that depend on civilization rather than armaments.
Well, that's very well said. I've enjoyed this conversation, because one thing it tells me as an Indian is that our politics and our economics is more connected to the world outside today than it has ever been. And as an Indian, I'm very proud of that. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. This has been very, very illuminating. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, at 9 o'clock tonight, the naysayers who said the Indian economy is dead and were quoting Trump are now stunned. The politics of it at 9.
Time for a quick breather.
आधे बाउल दही में 4 चम्मच MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला डाला, स्टर करो, पुदीना चटनी तैयार। MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला।